Bobbi Ann, hello.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay, I can hear you, you can hear me. So this was the tech issue we were having, and this is why we're getting started so late. But we're finally on, and I hope that everyone listening, if anyone is hopping on, let us know if you have any tech problems, if you can't hear us or see us, but I can see us on there. So I think we're good to go. So thanks, Bobbi Ann, for joining me today. And I will be chatting with you about your migraine journey because it's been a long one.
It has.
Yeah, so maybe I will let you get started and by just telling us about yourself a little bit.
I live in Sapsarm, Newfoundland, a little community on the west coast of Newfoundland that's got about 150 people. I am a mom of two. My boys are 12 and 23. I'm 45. And I am happily married to my husband. He and I both teach here in this small community. We've been here for more than 20 years. I teach and I'm also the school principal. So I've been the principal for the last 8 years and I've been teaching. I'm going in my 20th year of teaching. So stressful job, like most people, I guess, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you. Amazing. Yeah, I mean, teaching's not an easy job, and especially when you're playing two roles there, like you are, right? You're playing two probably fairly different roles, so you have to wear different hats, and then of course as a mom at home, and all of that. So thanks for the intro, and today is about really learning about your journey, where you started, when we started working together, when you started in with the Migraine Resilience Method, and what was happening, what was going on for you in your life at the time? Why did we first connect? Why did you decide to join, first of all, the Raising Your Resilience group, and also then connect with me and, decide to join in on the program? What was going on for you with your migraine episodes, especially, but, if you please share really anything that you health-wise that you were going through at the time.
So I joined in January, 7 months ago. And when I first joined, it was actually a recovery day. So I had been having migraines for about 15 days a month. And I had reached the end of my rope, I guess, with all of the things that I had been trying that just weren't working. So I was in the middle, like I had a migraine, and on a recovery day when I was kind of just, getting my stuff together, I was scrolling through Facebook and I came across you. And I watched a couple of videos and I thought about joining, thought about reaching out to you I guess I kind of pondered it for maybe a week or so before I did, because I was just kind of like so fed up with everything that I just thought this was just another thing, that wasn't going to work. Because like I said, I had felt like I had tried everything in terms of medicinally. So I've been having migraines since I was 12, and for years they were only just focused around my menstrual cycle. So I would just get usually one a month and that was it. But the last 4 or 5 years they've kind of ramped up, and initially it was probably 4 or 5 years ago I probably would get like 2 a month, and they'd only last a couple days, but it was starting to impact things, work, my life. So my gynecologist recommended that, because we felt that they were mostly connected to my menstrual cycle, that I try an IUD And hopefully that would help, because I hopefully wouldn't have periods. So for the first couple of years, it worked. The first year, actually. The first year that I had the IUD in, I didn't have, like, I had, one a month, didn't have very many at all, and they weren't too bad. The second year they increased, and in the third year it was kind of like I was right back to square one. So
so at first you were probably like, this is amazing, it's helping, this is what I needed, this was just, this is the thing to fix it, right?
Right.
And somewhat of a quick fix, like it's somewhat of that magic pill that everyone's hoping for, that just thing I can do, or the procedure, or the pill, or that's the simple thing. But unfortunately, yeah, you're saying you ended up kind of where you started out after a few years.
Yeah. So, well, it'll be 2 years next month. So in August of 2021 is when I say my life went absolutely crazy. Because my migraines had increased a little, we decided that my family doctor, gynecologist, and I decided that I should try taking out the IUD. If I took that out for a bit, how would I get on? So I did, and things went nuts. So I went from having, a couple of migraines that lasted a couple of days to like 12, 15 days a month where I was in bed. So I would have like 4-day stretches, 3 full days of a migraine. And then the 4th day was like a recovery day, but it wasn't much better. So a couple months after, in October of 2021, I decided to get the IUD reinserted and hopefully make things better, but it didn't. So the last, almost 2 years has been quite the journey. I have been physically, mentally, emotionally, it's been exhausting, overwhelming, very taxing. I missed 50 days of work last year.
Oh
in the
my
last, and I'm somebody who misses like 10 days a year, 10 months full. And this past year was the same thing. The fall started out really good. September was pretty good, and I thought that things were going to turn around, and then the next couple of months were insane. So I had tried everything, I thought. Every medication, basically here in Newfoundland, in order to qualify for Botox, you have to go through all of the medications possible. So I did. I had tried every medication possible. Nothing worked. The doctor put me on Topamax in December of 2021, which was supposed to be a preventative. That didn't work. And yeah, so I guess, like I said, in January, I was having a really, coming off a really bad episode and feeling really, really deflated, depressed. And I saw a post. So I thought to reach out to you because I wanted to try something different. I was very skeptical about the natural method. So, I thought it was going to be something that wasn't going to work. And well, I was skeptical of everything in general because I felt like I had tried everything.
Right. You'd seen all the specialists and experts on it, and nothing really sounds like put a dent in anything for you.
No.
And you're not alone. I think most people, unless they've already had like firsthand experience of a natural approach to health problems, most people are very skeptical. And that skepticism is there for different reasons, maybe part of the culture, part of like what we perceive as healthcare in Canada and North America. But also it can just be that with migraine and migraine episodes, it often does feel like it fails when people try things, right? But as now, there's reasons for that too. It's not to say that it's not going to work for people, or it's not going to work for the majority of people, or I say to a degree, everybody can benefit, even if it's not the only approach that is a fit for somebody at the time. But yeah, I didn't recognize how skeptical you were, because honestly, you kind of joined the group, we had a call, and you became a client almost right away. Like, you kind of didn't mess around. You didn't, to me, exhibit very much hesitation from my side of things. So
No, I was skeptical initially. Like I said, I think I would have been skeptical of anything, just because of where my head was at the time. But I watched several videos and read posts, and I talked to everybody about it. So I talked to my spouse, I talked to my family, I talked to my coworkers, because we have a really small staff. There's only 7 of us. And I even talked to them and said, like, what do you guys think? Like, should I try this? Like, and anyway, everybody's response was the same. Everybody was like, well, they said, you don't have anything to lose. Like, you've tried everything. And it seemed like I felt so let down, I think, from the Botox, because after all of the medications, the Botox was supposed to be the big thing that was going to save me. And when I saw the neurologist, here you have, I saw the neurologist and got the Botox. And after a couple of treatments, like, he just kept referring to me as an anomaly. Why isn't this working for you? So,
okay.
Yeah. So,
so extra disappointing
Oh.
when you had, I'm assuming, I can't remember now how many treatments you'd had when we first met, but enough, because I know the doctors say it may take 2, 3 before.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had 3 before we met.
Yeah.
And hoped that was going to work, but like I said, it didn't. So then when I saw your post and group, when we had that first call, I was kind of like, nope, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try it. I'm going to see how it goes.
Yeah. It's like, let's try something different now. Well, I'm sure, like anybody, most people will keep trying more and more things, whatever's available, until they find the solution, right? That's when you're in that much pain. It can become hard at a certain point to do that, to try anything when you're in debilitating pain for so many days of the month. So, in that sense, like, I commend you for still pursuing something and having the energy, or feeling that openness to doing the work, because that this is it's harder than just taking a pill every day, or an injection even, or even all the injections in your head. Like, some people see that as much easier solution than looking at the whole picture of things and taking that holistic, natural health approach. I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing, though. You were saying you talked to so many people and they were all supportive of you taking this, jumping into this. Do you mind sharing, like, how many siblings you have you had to consult with for this to happen?
Sure. So I have 11 siblings. I am the middle child. So I chatted with, a lot of people. I come from a very big family, and I think one thing that I didn't mention, I guess that I probably should too, is that I had felt like my mom had always had headaches. We never referred to them as migraine. It was always just that mom had a really bad headache. And so that was a huge thing for me, that I was kind of feeling like it was genetic, and this was just going to be my life. And pretty much that's what the doctor and the neurologist had kind of said too, that, this is what it is. So with the support of all of my family and my friends and coworkers, they were all very encouraging to try it, give it a shot. And I'm very thankful that I did.
Yes, it helps. It helps. I mean, we're all able to make our own decisions, and but it's so much easier when you feel like others around you are in agreement, and they also have that optimism and hope. Because if you talk to other people and they, just kind of poo-poo it, or they are not believers, or they don't have faith that something sounds like it could work, then that can be, it can really dampen your own belief in it. And then it can have an effect on outcomes too, if you're not feeling like it's something that could work. There is an element of that because our mind is so powerful, our brain is very powerful. But you're kind of in the middle, I would say, right? You're like not full on, this is going to be the miracle I needed, like with Botox, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be what saves me. You weren't quite there, but you also weren't like, I'm just going to try it, but it's probably not going to work, or it's going to maybe make a dent in it. Like you were kind of somewhere in the middle by the sounds of it.
I was. And once I made up my mind that I was going to do it, I was 100% dedicated to doing it.
Yes.
Because I felt like, what would be the point of starting it if I wasn't going to be all in? Yeah. So once we had the conversation and I realized what it entailed, I was kind of like, yeah, like I'm not going to sign up for this if I'm not going to put my entire, heart and soul into doing it. And I guess that's part of my personality too. I want to do something and I want to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. But it was scary at first.
Yeah, of course.
I remember, I think the biggest challenge initially was the gluten and dairy free.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, I even think back to that now and how, like, it seems so silly to me, but I remember, like, almost losing sleep over thinking about that. Like, just being like, how am I going to live without gluten and dairy? Like, it was such a big deal back in January. Mm-hmm. But again, I had reached a point through this journey where it was kind of like, I was willing to do anything to make it better, to make myself
even the hard things. Yeah. And I don't think you're alone in that either. I think habit changes, food changes. When someone is asked for your situation, this is what I believe is going to help you, because this is where things are at. This is what your body needs. Even if someone's told this will help you, because of XYZ, it can be hard to take that leap because our brain just has those trenches made, and our body wants what it craves for different reasons. But this is why having the explanation, but alongside that, the guidance on how to do it, on what what kinds of things you can be doing to make it less of a situation of feeling like deprived, or using willpower in order to do something, and more a matter of creating a situation your body is craving different things, where your body is knowing what it needs more intuitively, where it doesn't feel like a big uphill battle constantly. No. Right. So, and you did fantastic. Like you say, you were all in from the start, and that's exactly, I remember that you were like, I'm in it, and you showed up and you did everything was being asked of you, and you would be honest about what felt hard or what you were, having challenge implementing, and we'd talk it through and, get you the strategies to make sure that it was feasible and doable. So yes, I could definitely tell that from the start. And that's one of the success sort of parameters that I feel is really important for people to have. Of course, my phone is going off. And Bobbi Ann, do you mind sharing a bit about what you would do, like going back a little bit to what you were experiencing, all of that? What would you do then when you had a migraine episode, before things started shifting and you were able to start managing differently? Like, what types of things did help you, and how much did they help you when you did them?
Basically, I got an ice pack. I was taking Imitrex needles. I had a prescription for, there are kids here now in the playground.
Awesome. See a little head popping up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they know I'm here now, so now it's bad. So I would take, I had a prescription for Toradol. I had Imitrex needles. The Toradol didn't really do much. The needles I would basically have to take in order just to get out of bed. So I usually just spent my full 3 days in bed, had, cup of tea and a slice of toast delivered to me, and that's pretty much what I ate for 3 days. Dark room, ice pack, like I said. And yeah, like my episodes were so severe that like there were times like I had to take a needle to get up and actually go to the washroom, or like I couldn't turn my head in the bed for a couple days. And yeah, they were brutal. Brutal. Like I think about it now, and it's like I think about things like me literally being laid in bed and like water being on the nightstand next to the bed that I could not reach and drink because my head was just so bad.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it was brutal. But in terms of like what helped, I can't really say, you know, cold helped, I guess. It relieved a little bit, but I don't really feel like much of anything helped. It was more that in order to be able to function a little bit, like I said, I could take a needle and get up, and but that was just for a couple of minutes, and then I'd have to go back down.
And that's a pretty significant thing to have to do, like inject a needle to take a hard medication like that, just to be able to, like you say, go to the bathroom or get up for a little bit or grab your water. So I can see why I think you were so discouraged at that point. And I can't imagine that many days feeling that way. It just sounds like you were just kind of surviving through those moments, right? And I know that we can imagine with that, like how that must have felt. Obviously just symptom wise, pain wise. If you need to pause, that's okay, Bobbi Ann.
I'm going. Yeah,
Letting someone in.
I'm going to move because I find it extremely distracting.
Oh,
So I'm just gonna go across the hall.
All right.
Because the kids are calling out to me and tapping on the window. I haven't seen them, so I haven't seen them in weeks. But
yeah,
it's just
they miss you.
Yeah, they're here, so there's no playground in the community, so they come to the school to play on the playground.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is better.
All right.
Now I'm not distracted.
Until they find you.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully not for now.
Yeah. So with everything you were going through, you know, being out for so many days, in a year, but in a month, you were at that point, right? So I can't imagine, you know, how that must have been impacting, first of all, what you have to do in your work and at home and all of that. But if you were to describe, you know, the impact on your life and what you're just feeling, or what was going through your mind when you would experience like kind of month after month of this, and, you know, still having hope something's out there, but not really knowing when it would come, when that relief would come, or when you'd be able to figure it out.
To be brutally honest, which I am, I had reached a point where I was severely depressed. And I had been dealing with that depression. So I've dealt with anxiety my whole life, but pretty much. But the last year and a half, 2 years, extremely depressing. Just never not being able to see. There was no solution. So I had reached a point where there were a lot of days when I just wished I wasn't here. And I was never you know, I was never suicidal. But there were a lot of days when I was just laid in bed thinking like I'd just be better off dead. And I remember in January, just before I contacted you, was when I actually expressed that, because I wouldn't ever express that to anybody. I would just think that myself, like I'm such a burden, like I'm no good, like I'm just not good. I'm not a good mother or wife or worker. Like I can't be a good principal like this. Like I can't. It was excruciatingly hard. And back in January is when I finally discussed that with my husband. And I think that was another big reason why I was 100% in with you, was because I was just like this, like something's got to give here. Like something's got to work, because I really had reached a point where I felt like it's no way to live. Like it was affecting every aspect of my life. And when you spend half of a month in bed, it's brutal. Well, as you know, obviously.
Well, I never experienced it to the degree that you did, that's for sure. I mean, thank you for sharing that part of what you went through with us. I mean, I can't imagine. And I know that a lot of others who are also experiencing those level of symptoms for that many days out of the month feel similarly. I've certainly heard people express that a lot of depression happens in coincides with migraine. And I know they say like they don't know what follows what, if it's the migraine disease that is first and depression is as a result of that, or if this is a result of this, or if they're just interconnected. And I think that's more likely it's just it involves similar body processes for sure, but it's also when you can't live life, when you can't do the normal everyday things at all, or if you're doing them in severe pain, like that's a hard way to go through life for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that though, like I was saying, it's still, I commend you for in that space and feeling how you did for that many, you were still open to doing some hard things,
Yeah.
to try to get out of it in the hopes that it would help. Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe if you don't mind describing, now at this point, like your transformation, like what point did you start feeling changes? What point did you start to feel some improvement or some shifts?
So it wasn't very long. It was probably only 6 or 7 weeks after I had started the program that I started to see changes. Um, and I remember that I even had a stint of, I don't know, maybe over 3 weeks where I didn't have a migraine early on, and I was so excited. Like I was just over the moon. And I remember when I did get a migraine, I got so upset so fast because I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I was doing so well, like what did I do wrong? And then I was chatting with you about that, and you had told me all about and kept just kind of reinforcing how much this is a journey, and you need to just keep doing the right things. And so I did. I chugged along, I guess. And yeah, it wasn't very long at all into the program before I started to see a change. And of course, because I saw a change in my physical state, then there was almost an immediate change in my mental state. So I wasn't feeling depressed. I was feeling optimistic for the first time in forever, it felt like, but in years. So um yeah, my transformation has been huge. So I can't even believe it. I can't. Like I said, like I look back on thinking about like going gluten and dairy free, and now I laugh at that and think, oh my gosh, like that wasn't a big deal at all. And I'm still not. So full disclosure that I'm not 100% gluten free. um there are times that I still have gluten, but like I know myself well enough and I've experienced enough that I know that I can't I can't have a lot, or like there's things that are going to happen. And um just overall, I feel like in terms of a holistic approach, I feel like a new person. I really, really do. Like I feel so good. Like I can't even, oh my gosh, can't even express how good I feel.
I loved hearing your reports back, when you were starting to see shifts. At first it started, one of the first things I remember you coming and saying, I did this when I started feeling, episode, I went and I did this and this and this. And you were like, and it worked, it felt better. I didn't have to take anything. I didn't end up in bed for 3 days. And,
No.
your coworkers, the first time you told me, your coworkers were like shocked to see you back at work. because they knew you had started a migraine episode, and you normally, when that would happen, you were just disappeared for 4 days.
Yeah.
And this time it's like you were back at work within maybe 2 days instead.
Yep.
That was like, earlier on. And now you might not have to leave at all, or you might, be back the next day, or, in half day. So yeah, I do remember I was so happy to see you experiencing fast results, because, you really needed it. I mean, everybody does, but like, I definitely knew the pain you were going through, and the just how tired you were of it all, and how much you needed a win. So it was nice to
Yeah.
see, and obviously encouraging for you. And then, yeah, when you would have like a blip, or it was like trying to refocus to things are going okay, they're going well. Like, it's never going to be a linear path. Rarely is it like just in that positive slope, in that upward direction. So definitely all the efforts that you put in were paying off quickly, and that's helpful to kind of keep the motivation up to do the next thing and the next thing, right? And
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like, there's nothing easy about any of it, but like when you have a migraine. So I have been conditioned for the last, 30 years to, I have a migraine, I'm going to take an ice pack, I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to go in a dark room, and I'm going to stay there. So then to change and rewire my brain to thinking, no, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to get up. I'm going to have something to eat. I'm going to drink some lemon ginger tea. I'm going to make sure I got my electrolytes. I'm going to sit outside. I'm going to try and go for a walk. Like, all of those things were so different. And it was an adjustment. Like, it was, but again, when you reach a point where it's kind of like, no, something like I've got to give this my all. I've got to try. And then you realize, what I realized was, when my episodes went from 4 days to 2, and they weren't severe. Like, I wasn't feeling as bad as I did. Like, the pain wasn't as severe. It was just absolutely incredible to see. And like, it worked. And again, I was skeptical at times. I didn't think it was going to, like, is getting inside really going to help me? Is drinking this tea really going to help me? But it worked. It works, I should say.
Amazing. Yeah. And it's all the different things, like you were saying, go hand in hand, and the things that you'd been working on through the food stuff, of course, and then also the mindset stuff, and then the environment stuff, and the lifestyle things, right? Like, you were tackling it from almost all angles right from the start, and then you were able to keep building because you started feeling better. So you were able to keep, I'm sure it probably started to feel a little easier, right? After those first, once you start feeling a little better, it does end up getting a bit easier to do the things. And that's when we can even accelerate sometimes what you're working on, push a little bit harder on, integrating, say, a couple things at a time instead of just one at a time. Once you're able to even think more clearly, right? Because I know a lot of people, it's like the cognitive side of things, like the brain fog, and that makes it really hard. That's one of the biggest symptoms that I know I hear complaints about, like, besides the pain and like nausea and that kind of thing. It's the cognitive.
Yeah, so I had major brain fog, and I also had like a severe weight loss, and I lost my hair. I experienced a lot of side effects from the medication that I was taking, and I am so proud to say that I am off the medication. So I finished
Wow.
finished Topamax last week. I was weaned.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I had to be weaned off it, and had to wait to see the neurologist in June. So once that happened, when I took that last pill, it was over the moon. And I also stopped doing the Botox. I haven't had Botox since December, because I felt like it wasn't working.
It wasn't helping. Yeah.
And but yeah, getting off the Topamax was huge, because that was the cause of the loss of the weight, but that's something else too. So that was a big thing for me in the year that leading up to meeting you. I had lost 30 pounds with the combination of the Topamax and, of course, you know, spending 15 days a month in bed and not eating definitely doesn't help. And then, of course, I lost my hair and major hair loss in the fall. But since starting this program, so my weight has been stable since January.
Yeah.
So I'm good. And I'm actually, so my weight is stable, but I'm actually eating healthy. Like I'm eating well. And my hair's growing back. So,
Yay.
you know, it's all very, very positive. Now, thank goodness.
Congratulations. Yeah. And the hair is a big part of it for so many women. Hey, it's like,
Yeah.
I've been there acutely, just a lot of hair loss after having a virus, and it was scary. Like, am I going to go bald? Am I going to is it going to be this way forever? Is it ever going to grow back? So really getting underneath why hair loss is a big one for people. And in your situation, it was a few different reasons, and it's usually our hair person that's like the first to kind of notice, like, you've got new growth. It's like, it's coming in, it's getting thicker, and it can take time. But again, as long as we're on that right path, we just have to be patient and it'll happen. It'll come back. Well, so I'm so happy for all of your successes and all of the, not just that you saw results fairly quickly, but that you also just had such amazing results by the end, because now, like you say, you're off of your preventive, you're really not having to take the acute, I guess it's the Imitrex that you would still take here and there if you needed it. But, I remember you saying, I can't believe how few needles I'm needing, because I don't remember anymore how many it was before, but it was too often for you. Like, you wanted to not have to use those so often.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of like medications and the needles like that, I was someone who was like, I did not want to be taking medication. Like I didn't want to take a lot of the needles and Toradol and all that stuff. But when I would have an episode, like I said, if a needle was the only way I could get out of bed to go to the bathroom, obviously I had to take a needle. But I went from it was kind of like I had a prescription for like 12 needles a month that I had no trouble using. And now, like, I don't even remember the last time I took a needle. Like I don't remember, because my episodes now are not as severe that I don't need to take them. And the same is true with the Toradol. Like I had a spurt of like 30 full days without a migraine. The last migraine I had was 27 days. Like I haven't had a migraine now since June 24th.
Amazing. Yay. That's incredible. That is incredible. Yeah. That happened. I remember the first time that happened for you. I can't remember anymore how far in it was, but you had gone, I think it was a few months in, you'd gone 24-day stretch. And you were celebrating, and you were saying that you were hesitating to celebrate because you didn't want to jinx it. And I'm like, no, there's no such thing as jinxing it. And what happened the next day, you had a migraine. You started a migraine episode. And so I can no longer say there's no such thing, because there's some evidence that it may happen. I think it was just a bad coincidence, but it's nice to have those longer stretches, right? And then, as you say, even when one's coming on, and this is the thing I was trying to reassure you of even earlier on, because you were having success in the way of when did come on, they weren't lasting as long, they weren't as severe. So I was like, focus on that part of it. There's still work to be done, clearly. Like, we're still working through to get your things in balance. And, with the labs that you had done, there were many things that were they were out of functional range, right, at a point. So it'll be interesting to see with your next set of labs that you get done, how things have changed. But what matters is how you're feeling and your symptoms. And we know, even just based on that, there's still work to do. There's still improvements to be made. But man, like, those are huge leaps, like huge improvements. And most people listening here may be thinking, I would be like I could stop there. I'd be done. Like if I had one every 30 days, like that's fine. And that lasted, one day, manageable 1-2 days instead of in bed, not able to move, in severe pain for 3 days and a recovery day. Like, yeah, I think that's a win, but we don't have to say we're going to stop there either. Like there's more
No,
to it.
I was like, I would not have been able to stop. So when the program officially ended for me in June, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? Like I can't lose Julie. So, but because I know like it's not, I mean, this is something that I'm going to have forever. Like it's not
Mhm,
I'm not cured.
mhm.
It's not like that, but there's still things that I need to work on, and just having the support and having being able to reach out to you. Um, so I have learned more about my body and nutrition. Like I can't even. It's amazing. Like in this last 6-7 months. And I've even come to school and taught it. So I've learned all these things about like all of our body systems and the way things work, and I mean I consider myself to be a fairly knowledgeable person, but like I just did not know and did not understand. And oh my gosh, like the wealth of knowledge that I've gotten, I could not give that up. So like I'm like, no, I'm not ready. There's still things in terms of my nutrition and exercise and everything that I still need to work on, which is why I continue with the program. And and I look forward to learning more and doing more because I'm a lifelong learner too, I guess. But
Yeah, teacher, principal. No, I love it. I loved when you came in and said, I'm teaching, I talked about this in class today. I'm teaching my kids about this now because I personally believe that we should all know. If there's anything that we should all be educated on and experts in, is how our own bodies work, because we wouldn't need we wouldn't end up in the positions we're in if we understood better, I don't think, health wise. And we would be able to recover and come back to health sooner, quicker, better if we only understood how our own bodies worked and how the food and the external things influenced it. Because I think, yeah, like many people, especially if you have an interest in health and wellness, like even like I did growing up, a certain amount, and enough to know we're in a tricky spot in this world, and like it's easy to kind of fall into the negative way of thinking about things, like what can I do? Like this is in our food, or this is in our environment, or life is stressful, there's so many things going on, we have to pay this, we have to feed these little people in our house, we have to like
yeah,
give to others and be support others, and so all this to say, it's if only we all recognized the importance of understanding more than just the basics of how the body works, it can be motivating, it can be help us feel more optimistic about things. We can convey what we know to others, other loved ones in our life, including like our kids, and help them kind of avoid places we've ended up in, just being more preventive in that way. But yeah, I personally, there's people that love like listening to it and learning about it. And then there's others that would rather not, they're not interested. But I will say, when you see the connections, you feel the connections and you see the results, you naturally become more interested and you want to learn more. And there's obviously ways of conveying that information and to like talking about it. And that can be helpful too. I know that that's how I love to learn, is having somebody explain it in more like layman's terms, but
totally.
just a bit beyond that, like a good balance of simple, but getting a little more sophisticated than what we might get, on the news or in a blog, so
Well,
yeah.
that's what you've provided for me, because obviously I could research all of this, I could do it all myself, but I didn't understand it, and I didn't
Mhm.
understand the connections. And now like to speak to that family thing, my youngest is 12, and he is having some headaches, and I am like petrified, like this is, oh my gosh, he's going to be like me. But I'm already teaching him the things I've learned through this program, and saying to him, like, if he gets a headache, well, okay, let's kind of figure out, where this came from and what can we do. And so I've already started that. Whereas before, I mean, one of my biggest fears the last number of years, ever since, having kids, is my child, or are my children going to end up like me and on this? And he even says to me, he'll say, like, I wonder, should I have some of that? Like, or maybe I need to eat better. Or maybe I need to do this. Or maybe I need to do that. Right. Which is so awesome, because
you want it to
what
come from them, and
Right.
you want them to, by the point where they're feeding themselves, making their own choices more, and it's not, us guiding them or doing the groceries and making the rules. Ideally, we want them to know for themselves what is going to make them feel good and keep them healthy, versus not, so they're not always nagging at them or over their shoulder, or have to be like we're being overbearing. But that's definitely a huge benefit. It's true of understanding and not just having someone tell you what to do or handing you a protocol and you're off with it. It's very, the benefits of knowing it and doing it this way is broad, and it lasts a lifetime, right? And you can pass it on, and like carry it through to other family members. So I'm happy to hear that you felt that way too. I don't think we talked about your son in particular. So awesome. So before we sign off, is there anything else you wanted to share that you feel maybe we didn't cover? Anything you have to say to people that may be experiencing their migraine journey in the same way that you had been?
I guess I would say, which I've already said to many people, but not live like this, or, on this kind of platform. But I would say to people that to give this a chance, and to realize that, there are solutions. And I think one of the biggest eye openers for me is I am typically an extremely positive person.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say to kids, like, there are solutions for everything. Like, there's hope for everything. There's solutions for everything. So when I was feeling like there wasn't any hope for me, that was really, really hard. But this program and the support that you provide is given me freedom that I'm so appreciative and so thankful. And I was told by a neurologist, I'm an anomaly, and we don't understand why these things aren't working for you, and all of that. And then to turn around and start something natural and have it work, it's like, oh my gosh, it's just incredible. So don't, I guess my advice is, don't think that there's not a solution or that there's not hope for you, because there is. If you're willing to put in the work, and trust me, you can do it, because if you can live with migraine, you can do the work in this program.
Well said.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, thank you so much, Bobbi Ann. Thank you for being so real and for being so open with us today and sharing, the ins and outs of what you've been through and how you're doing now. And so happy for you and excited to continue working with you, because it's always a pleasure. I always say that I love working with the clients I work with. It's always somehow, I don't know, I'm blessed that way. I feel like I just end up connecting with the women that were meant to kind of come together at this point in time. And, I'm happy when I'm able to help, and when the process is, successful, and everybody leaves happy. This is the whole goal of all of it. So when everyone's committed, it works.
It does.
All right. Well, Bobbi Ann, we will let you get on with your day. Thank you again so much for chatting today.
Thank you for everything. Take care.
Bye-bye.